Let me know if this sounds familiar. You skip breakfast, you go straight to coffee. You wait about 4 to 5 hours and you have a chicken Caesar wrap and a fresh pressed juice. And then at the end of the day, you're scrummaging around for something and you make some sort of version of a grilled dinner. You then do Pilates a few times a week. You maybe strength train once. You do a group fitness class on Saturdays. You do all the incline walking. You get your 10,000 steps in and you still don't see any changes. Hi, my name is Patrick Frost. I've been a coach now for over 15 years. Worked with brands like Nike, with Barry's, for Techno Gym. And the most common problem that I have encountered is not the fact that you are not training hard enough. I would say that's probably the second. It's that you're under eating. I want you to understand something before we go any further, because this is a bit of a foundation of everything I'm going to tell you. Body size is determined by calories and body composition is going to be determined by macros. I'm going to say that one more time. Body size, the number on the scale, the amount of space that you individually take up, that's going to be calories in versus calories out. But body composition, how you actually look, the shape of your body, where you hold muscle, where you hold fat. Now that is determined by your macronutrients, the relation or ratio between your proteins and your fats and your carbs. So in this video, we're going to go over the basics of understanding how to appropriately fuel your body and actually get the desired outcome I think we all want. So if your goal has always been sculpted arms, a flat tummy, strong glutes, no amount of working out is ever going to offset the lack of fuel you get your body. You cannot out-train poor nutrition. When I first start working with clients, I generally ask them to at least track 3 days out of the week. I want the very first day to be like the day they feel like they're on top of it. They're making the best decisions. They are nailing this day. The second day is about trying to track the busy day, the day that they aren't providing themselves the right amount of attention throughout that day. And then the third day is just your average day. I don't generally ask for tracking after that unless they're pretty keen to it. But those 3 days will give me insight to what their week looks like. And this is a general thing, but without fail, specifically my gen population clients, they are always overeating their fats and their carbs. And almost all of them are in some sort of unintentional caloric deficit. And here's the thing about living in an unintentional deficit for longer than you know. Your body doesn't know that it's dieting. It just knows that it's not getting enough. And a body that isn't getting enough doesn't burn fat effectively. It slows down, it adapts, it holds on. And I'm going to talk about why that happens in a minute. But first, let's talk about macronutrients, what they are and what they actually do in the body. My main goal for this is for this to be, no pun intended, digestible. I want you to take a lot away from this. So if you are entering this with having no base of understanding nutrition, I hope this is also meeting you where you are at. So pay attention for me and follow me real quick, okay? So your body alone runs on 3 macronutrients, okay? You have fat, you have carbs, and you have proteins. Now, your body thrives when all 3 of these macronutrients are in a symbiotic relationship. They need each other to function better. So if you remove one or you start to overload one, it kind of completely shifts the whole system. So let's start with protein, because this is by far one of the most, specifically my women clients out there, underconsumed macronutrient, period. And this is also one that almost every dietitian, nutrition, or anybody background who's gonna try to shift you to keto or carb loading, whatever, nobody argues about protein. So in general, male or female, the ballpark range tends to be about 0.75 to about 1.25 times your body weight in pounds in grams of protein. Now, how you determine where you fall on that range is going to be based on your activity level and your gender. But generally speaking, if you have a higher output of activity level, you need a higher consumption of protein. For example, if you're a light mover, you don't strength train a ton, you might do a yoga class here and there, you got your walking down, you're going to be more towards that 0.75, maybe 0.85 times your body weight. Now, if you're someone who does a ton of strength training, a ton of sprint work, you're active more than 4 to 5 times a week, working up a pretty intense sweat, you're going to be closer to that 1.25. Now, here's something that most people don't know. Protein has one of the highest thermic effect of any macronutrients. What that actually means is your body burns more simply by digesting protein alone. So when you eat about 100 calories of protein, your body uses about 20 to 30 calories just to process that 100 calories, to break it down, to absorb it, versus when you consume fat, your body only uses about 0 to about 3 calories in those same 100 calories to absorb it. So protein is actually costing your body more energy to break it down, which means it's actually working harder for you even after you consume it. That's actually one of the reasons why having a higher protein intake will actually be more beneficial in your body composition without actually even changing any of the calories. Now, if your body were a car, then you would think about fats and carbs as your fuel source. What do you think carb loading, Atkins, keto, those sort of diets have all in common? They all specifically prioritize one major fuel source. Let's talk about fats first. Now, if you don't have any specific needs, if you're not recovering from chemo, or if you have some sort of autoimmune disease, or if you're not strength training, or if you're not powerlifting, then in general, you want the total calories of your day, 25 to 35% of that to be made up of fats. I want to be very clear about this. You need fat. Your body needs fat. Fat is responsible for hormone production. Testosterone, estrogen, all of the sex hormones need fat to function properly. Fat is also really critical for brain health. Your brain is actually about 60% of fat by weight. It needs fatty acids to work. Fat also helps absorb certain vital nutrients like vitamin A, K, D, and these fat-soluble vitamins, meaning they need fat in order to actually be absorbed through the body. You literally can't use any of them if your diet doesn't consist of dietary fat. So when someone says to cut all fat from your diet, your brain suffers, your hormones suffer, your micronutrients suffer. Don't cut fat, you gotta moderate it. Now, once we take away that percentage of fats from your total calorie goal, and then even your protein, what's remaining will be your carbs. Now, let me tell you something about carbs, because I feel like carbs get a really bad reputation out there, and they don't deserve it. Carbs do the most. Carbs are your body's preferred fuel source when it comes to high intensity activity. Sprinting, jumping, lifting heavy, explosive movement, all of those come from glycogen, which is essentially a stored carbohydrate within your body, muscles, and liver. When you are eating carbohydrates, that breaks down into glucose, and that glucose either gets used right away or it's stored in the muscle or the liver as glycogen for later use. Your muscles will hold up about 400 grams of glucose in the body, your liver about 100 grams. Anything in surplus of that, your body actually, very interesting, will end up processing that similar to how it processes fat and store it as fat within the body. It's a process called lipogenesis, which is, I think, really interesting. So the issue was never carbs or fats being bad. It was the ratio between the two, specifically without actually consuming enough protein to balance out. Your body needs all three in the right amounts and in the right ratio. And that's a symbiotic relationship. When it's off, your body will feel off. And when it's on, your body will feel that too. So now the question becomes, how do we know how to actually calculate that for ourselves? And how do we divvy out and split between proteins, fats, and carbs? In my opinion, it starts with your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. Now, if you were in a coma, strapped to a bed, just existing, your bodily processes, the functions that are happening internally, they require energy. And so your BMR is the amount of calories your body needs to sustain that type of existence. You should never, in any sort of diet, at any point in time, go below your BMR. For example, my BMR is around 1,800 calories. If I were to start eating below that for an extended period of time, my body will not have enough fuel to rebuild and build muscle tissue and get those strength gains. But internally, it would also start shifting what is important to function within my body. It's actually called a metabolic adaptation. When you are chronically under eating, when your body is under fueling for an extended period of time, your body will adapt, your thyroid output will decrease, which slows your overall metabolism. Your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, your NEAT, all the movement that you do throughout the day that isn't intentionally exercised, drops. You move less throughout your day. Your body is quietly conserving energy. In response to that, your cortisol levels will rise because your body is so stressed, and elevated cortisol promotes fat storage, particularly around your midsection. So if you're that person who's been eating 1,200 calories a day, wondering why they can't lose that belly fat, this is why. Your body has adapted to 1,200 calories, and your body is stressed and holding on to fat because of it. Always remember, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, is the floor. You never go below the floor. In the old school days, you take your BMR and there's a calculation that involves your height, your age, how active you are, all these different things. Now you can go to calculator.net. It's going to spit out what's referred to as your maintenance calories. This is called your TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. Now that's the amount of calories that you need today to exist, to continue to basically fuel your lifestyle with all the workouts and everything. So now everyone's going to tell you to take around 200 to 500 below or above, depending on if you want to gain those TDEE numbers. And that's going to be your deficit that you want to live in to lose weight, essentially. And here's what my 10,000 hours plus has found. What I like to do before doing any of that, specifically for people who have been malnourishing their body, you get your maintenance calories. You get someone to actually consume that and just focus on shifting their macros within that caloric goal. That alone is so impactful in terms of body composition. If someone has been eating 1,800 calories, but majority of that is coming from fats and carbs and maybe 50 to 60 grams is that of protein, they do not have the building blocks to build muscle tissue to recover better. Even if their calories are in the right neighborhood, if their macro percentage is off, you're not going to see the result. And that's the part that surprises everyone. When everything is working in a symbiotic relationship, you're going to feel better because you're not riding that blood sugar roller coaster ride that you get from overindulging in carbs. Your recovery is going to improve because you have more of a complex amino acid to help repair and rebuild. And your hunger is going to decrease because protein is actually the most satiating macronutrient out there. So before you go and cut anything, before you even introduce a deficit, focus on your macros. The answer is most likely already in the food that you are eating. You just need to be rebalanced. So how do you actually do this? How do you actually go from understanding this information to implementing it? You're going to hate this answer. You have to track it. okay? You have to track it. Now, I'm not asking you to track forever, but you need to actually track long enough to know if it's working for you, if you need to pivot, if your percentage in fats need to be more towards 25 than 35. Like most things in life, things will just get easier the more you do them. You don't have the tools yet to discern what a plate should look like for yourself, and the only way to actually do that is through tracking. I suggest 4 to 6 weeks of just dedicated tracking because it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for it to stop feeling like some sort of job. And by week 6, you have now done enough time that you have pattern recognition. You know what your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinners need to look like. You can download any app, MyFitnessPal. There's another one called Macro Factor, whatever you feel comfortable with, and you track for those 4 to 6 weeks. And I just want to preface this. This is not to punish yourself. This is not a way to go about obsess over every single gram, but you need to build your home base to understand how to fuel your body for the rest of your life. It's like learning to drive. You don't have to think, okay, I'm turning, I have to do my turning signal. At some point, you just know, turning signal, I'm turning. And that's the whole point of this, because I love to eat and I love to travel and I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm not going to travel around the world with a spreadsheet and trying to track everything. And I don't want that for you either. This knowledge is strictly supposed to empower you, not restrict you. None of this is about making food the enemy. This is about understanding your body's needs, how you need to fuel better to actually get the gains and the results that you're looking for so that we can eliminate stress, lower the cortisol levels, come back to homeostasis. It's just a numbers game. Learn the numbers and then go live. So if you found this very informative and you would like to hear a little bit more about this, please like and subscribe. I'd love to help you guys kind of cut through the noise and figure out what works best for you.